Philadelphia grocery store became a crime scene in an instant today. A man is dead after being shot at close range inside of the store, and it happened in broad daylight. Friday night, Rick is off. I'm Shari Williams. The big story on Action News is this gun violence that erupted inside of a corner store, a man being shot and killed. It's a painful reminder of the work that still needs to be done in the city to stop the senseless bloodshed. Action News reporter Dan Cuellar working this story for us live tonight from police headquarters with the very latest. Dan.
Shari, the trauma and grief are palpable across communities in Philadelphia, with the bloodshed seemingly never ending. And at the rate the killings are going, we are on target to surpass last year's record numbers.
So he talks about the pain and the grief is palpable in these cities. And it's never ending. And they're on pace to set their record, which, I mean, if you just look at the trend, it's amazing. Like, murders will have doubled from this time 6 years ago. And this was a very, if you're a Sun man or a Sun woman, you know about Philadelphia just from being a Sun man. You know how we talk, you know. You knew Philly was no joke back in the mid-teens. It was no joke. It was a place where, oh, you going to Philly? Oh, man. Philly dudes don't play, man. Philly wild. They have twice as many murders now than they had 6 years ago. Twice. Double. 1,000% increase. Okay? So, how is this not the biggest story on CNN or MSNBC Daily? How does this story just get lost? This is a huge story. They want to keep you focused on Chicago. Yes, Chicago's bad. And listen, just to tell you something, I did a video a few weeks ago, whatever, and I told you guys that Chicago was about, what was the 28th most dangerous city, because they do these things per 100,000 per capita. So if you have a city with 3 million people and you have 800 murders, it's not as bad as a city with 600,000 people with 400 murders. So if you take all that, Chicago's the 28th most dangerous city. Do you know, in that video, people from Chicago got in the comment section and told me about myself? It was basically not threatening me, but like, man, you ain't from here. You don't know it's really... Because they take pride. Some people take pride in how dangerous their city, how dangerous their neighborhood is. It's a source of pride. It's a source of ego. It's attached to their ego. But they like to talk about Chicago, and I try to tell you guys, some of the theme of this channel is that, man, it's everywhere, Jack. Everywhere you have a Sun community. It doesn't even matter what the population of the whole city is. If you have an area where we are congregated, that area is going to be extremely dangerous, and it's going to make the entire city's numbers seem dangerous. So you can take a part of the town where we're at, and it will bump the whole city. You don't have to have crime anywhere else in the city. It will bump the whole city's numbers up to a point where that city is now more dangerous than Chicago per capita. You get what I'm saying? You have a city, 20,000 people. You have a section, 1,000 Sun people there. In a year, they have 20 murders. Take that, 20, by number 100,000, you do the math, yada, yada. That city now has a higher rate, because even though they don't have the 800, just in that little space, they've made it more dangerous than Chicago. Within the confines of that city, in that city's borders. And in America, there's 28 places like that. 28 cities like that in this country that are more dangerous than Chicago. And Philly is the flagship of that movement, of that phenomenon that you guys, that I've been trying to tell you guys about. And I can't understand how this is not the biggest story in the country.
In the latest homicide, police are calling it an execution-style killing inside Gregory's Grocery at Arch and Farson in West Philadelphia. Police say surveillance video shows a 38-year-old man was in the back of the store playing video games. The footage...
A 38-year-old man was in the back of the store playing video games. Must be nice, huh? I know the people in this house are like, man, I wish I could be in the store playing video games. I gotta work. You know what I'm saying? I have bills to pay, man. I have business to take care of. I wish I could be 38 in the back of the store playing video games.
Yeah. Police say surveillance video shows a 38-year-old man was in the back of the store playing video games. The footage shows a gunman walk right up behind him and point a gun to the back of his head and fires a single gunshot at point-blank range. The victim falls dead on the ground. The gunman turns and walks out of the store, according to police. A friend of the victim was devastated to hear what happened.
I don't really know. I just talked to him on the phone. I told him that I loved him. I'm sad, but I'll try to get through.
Now, this is not this guy's girlfriend or anything like that, but, she said she just talked to him on the phone and loved him. Maybe she is. But, these people in these areas, they're desensitized to this stuff, man. This stuff, you see even everything from her statement to her outward emotions doesn't support Nick Cannon's claim. She seems like she lives in a city where 500 plus people get killed every year for the last 2 years.
A friend of the victim was devastated to hear what happened.
I don't really know. I just talked to him on the phone. I told him that I loved him. I'm sad, but I'll try to get through.
As homicide investigators work to identify and track the gunman, the latest numbers compiled by our data team show...
Why half the cops in Philly look like plumbers, man?
Homicide investigators work to identify and track the gunman. The latest numbers compiled by our data team show that so far this year, Philadelphia has more homicides at 445 than New York City's 382, a city that has almost 7 times more inhabitants.
Okay? And we know what the vibes are in New York. The scuttlebutt about New York is that this is going back to the 80s and the 90s when they would have 2,400 murders a year. That's how great of a job Giuliani and Bloomberg had done with New York, with stop and frisk, broken windows policing. They'd got it down, the murders down to a level where it was basically 10% of what it used to be. Now you see it's creeping up. They'll have 450 by the end of the year, which is about twice as much as they've been having. But Philadelphia, a city with 1/7 the population of New York, has more murders. Chicago, a city with, I'd say, a little more than a half of the population of New York. Or a third, maybe a third of the population of New York. That's probably better. A third of the population of New York. They have 655. These are not huge stories. But if you consider the fact that we've been hearing about how much everybody cares about Sun people. Everyone cares about Sun people. Sun lives matter. Disproportionately, institutionally, structurally, systematically, all these words that they taught some people over the past few years that they never used before. Defund, all these words that you never heard some people use none of these words. All these words that they taught us, they armed us with. Let's do the math. 382 plus 445 plus 655. I'm going to say that's 1482. That's 1,482 murders. Okay? Including the one that this story is about, the guy playing video games in the back of the 38-year-old guy playing video games in the back of the grocery store. Guy comes up, puts a gun to the back of his head, blows his brains out. He died, didn't even know what happened. And the other guy didn't run out, he walked out. So 1,482 murders right here in these three cities. This is three cities. Now you guys know how many cities there are. We got Houston, DC, Birmingham, Gary, Indianapolis, Cleveland. We got tons of cities. This is three. How many of these do you think are Sun people? How many of these 1,482 people that have been murdered, how many of those do you think are Sun people? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, personally, I would take 200 of these and say that they're hombredos. I would say 200 of these are hombredos. Because all three of these cities have a very substantial hombrito community. And very violent in many places. Many of those hombrito communities are extremely violent. So I'm going to take 200 off of that 482. And then I'm going to say, okay, you got a lot of glacier gliders that were caught up in the street crime. Victims of street crime, because we know glacier gliders don't kill each other in these democratically run cities. Anywhere, really, but especially in these democratically run cities, these glacier gliders don't kill each other. So I'll say 82 of these are glacier gliders. So that's 282. So that leaves us with 1,200. So I'm going to say 1,200 of these murders, of these 482 murders, 1,200 of them are people of the Sun. Brothers and sisters. Okay? Now that's a huge number. That's like 80%. And we know that almost all these people were killed by other Sun people. So that means that Sun people are responsible for 80% of the murders. And it's like this in every city. And in some cities, they're responsible for 90%. But we'll just say 80%. Can you please stop getting in my comment section talking about 1350? 13% of the population commits 15% of the murder. Give us our respect, man. It's 80% Okay? You want to see what it looks like? These are the fatal gun violence victims. Because it's gun violence. You know, the gun did it. In Philadelphia. Look at that. Don't believe me? When I say it's 80%, and if city like Philly is about 95%, but I'm talking about across the country. This is what 3080 looks like. And anybody who's been a subscriber of this channel knows that. And they come in all shapes and sizes and genders too. Anybody who's been a member of this channel. Wow, look at this guy, Tommy Frazier. That was one of my favorite players. College football quarterback for Nebraska back in the 90s. Tommy Frazier. This is his namesake. But yeah, all shapes, ages, genders. Reasons. Okay? That's what 1380 looks like. Please stop saying 1350. I told you guys a few weeks ago I was going to start blocking you if you kept saying 1350. It's 1380. And you want to know what the 20%, how they died? 20-year-old man charged with the murder of Milan Lankar. Temple grad killed walking dog in Brewery Town. You know who did this. We did a video on that. Adon Sedan. 18-year-old man dies after being shot while walking to a boxing gym in Kensington. You know who did that. We did a video on this guy too. Skylar Owens Mooney. Man behind deadly rampage in Germantown had prior weapons charges. May be linked to earlier double homicide. Philly police shoot and kill suspect on a rampage who shot and killed a woman during a carjacking. We know who did this.